After we got together, my girlfriend always resisted my touch. I always thought she was pure and conservative, until I stumbled upon her live stream. It turned out she was only generous for her top-tipping fan. Since she didn't cherish my sincere heart, she could face my fury instead. Chapter 1. I closed the deal on my project and ended my business trip early to head home. Intending to surprise my girlfriend, I didn't tell her I was coming back. The moment I stepped inside, I heard her talking in the makeup room. It was Sunday, her day off. Was someone else here? I walked closer, only to hear her calling someone honey in an incredibly intimate tone I had never heard before. My girlfriend, Victoria, had always been so pure and reserved around me. Why would she use that tone of voice to say such things? For some reason, I didn't want her to know I was home. I crept closer to the room, hearing her say something about Big E. Hit that follow button and thank you for the gifts, honey. I froze for a few seconds, then immediately guessed she was live streaming. My work required frequent travel, so I was rarely home. The apartment we lived in was one I'd bought with my savings from the last 2 years. It had 4 rooms, one of which I'd given to Victoria as a makeup room. Although it was called a makeup room, I had never once set foot inside. She kept the door closed year-round and wouldn't let me in. I figured it was just a girl's private space and I wasn't interested in prying. But whenever I got near it, she would become incredibly nervous. Thinking back on it now, it did seem a little strange. Could she have been streaming in there all this time? Suddenly, I heard her get up as if she was about to come out. I don't know why, but my gut told me I couldn't let her find me. On a whim, I practically dove under the bed in the master bedroom. My heart was pounding like a drum, a strange sense of panic washing over me. Was I about to discover something truly awful? Chapter 2. I quickly silenced my phone. Victoria walked into the bedroom and then back out, apparently not noticing I was home. I held my breath, afraid to make a sound. This was infuriating, hiding like a criminal in my own home. The house went quiet. Had I misunderstood? But just as I was about to crawl out, the doorbell rang. I heard her voice, sweet and cloying again. Honey, you're finally here. Wait a minute. If he was honey, then who was I? I silently hit the record button on my phone. Rage burned through me. It hit me instantly. She had brought a man home. You actually invited me to your place? What, not afraid your boyfriend will find out? A man's deep voice asked. My world was crashing down. All I wanted to do was storm out and beat them both to a pulp. But I quickly forced myself to calm down. I could confront them, but not now. Victoria's voice chimed in again. Don't even mention him. Just looking at his face makes me want to puke. If he didn't have a little bit of money, I would have dumped him ages ago. You're so much better, Big E. We've been to hotels so many times, I wanted to try something new. This is so much more exciting. I couldn't help but sneer. I had given her my heart and soul, and this is how she talked about me behind my back. I suppressed my fury. If I didn't teach them a lesson, I wasn't a man from their conversation. I pieced together what Victoria was doing for work. She was a big spender, nothing but designer brands would do. The money I gave her was gone in a couple of days. Since I was rarely home, she had started live streaming. She called herself an emotional support streamer, but in reality, this man was her top fan, her Big E, who had spent a lot of money on her. My fists clenched silently. Since she's gotten used to the good life, she shouldn't blame me for what's coming next. Chapter 3. Lying under the bed, listening to the sounds from above, I felt a knot twisting in my stomach. It was over quickly. Victoria was even cheering him on. The irony was, I had never seen her like this. With me, Victoria always acted distant and uninterested, but since she was the girl of my dreams, I had gotten used to it. It wasn't until after 6 o'clock, when Victoria started complaining she was hungry, that they prepared to leave. I heard her whining, asking him to buy her a new handbag. When he agreed, she was overjoyed, calling him honey repeatedly. Shortly after, they left the apartment. Only when I was sure they wouldn't be back did I crawl out from under the bed, my heart aching. All these years, I had poured everything I had into our relationship. Because she said she was against premarital intimacy, I had always stopped right at the final moment. I respected her and wanted to give her a wonderful life. Out of my monthly salary of over $1,500, I kept only a tiny fraction for myself and gave her the rest. To support her lavish spending, I worked 2 part-time jobs, all just to make her happy. During this business trip, my family had informed me about a property demolition compensation. I was planning to tell her on the day I proposed. But now, that was all pointless. I sent her a text asking what she was up to. She sent back a photo of herself having dinner with a girlfriend, even reminding me to eat. I had to laugh. In the reflection of a spoon, I could clearly see the bald man sitting across from her. Looking back at our old chat history, the signs were all so obvious my fist clenched unconsciously as I strode into her makeup room. But the scene before me made me want to curse out loud. Chapter 4. She probably hadn't expected me back 3 days early, because the makeup room wasn't locked at all. A distinct, indescribable smell hung in the air. As a man, I knew exactly what it meant. Blood rushed to my head. My eyes fell upon a floor littered with props and costumes. I was completely stunned. Rage surged through me. I noticed her computer screen was still on, open to her streaming account. I was such a fool. I had never suspected a thing. I quickly took out my phone and recorded a video of the room, then clicked on her account profile. What I saw next made my world go dark. The videos on her homepage were obscene. I had never seen this side of my girlfriend. I was furious, and it got worse. Her DMs were a cesspool, with 99 messages from disgusting men. Even more ridiculously, she was selling her used clothing. The thought that the girlfriend I lived with was like this made me sick to my stomach. I kept digging and found that her daily earnings were quite high. One top fan had tipped her $45,000 in a single month. It was probably the guy from today. I quickly jotted down her account name and the top fan's account name. Their chat logs were vile. I clicked one open, and a chill went down my spine. That day she had suddenly picked a fight with me and slept in the spare room. It was because she was filming a video for her top fan. Victoria had made over $10,000 just from selling her used things. No wonder she was always shipping packages, and would fly into a rage if I touched them. So that's what it was. Listening to the audio from the video, my gaze hardened with resolve. Since she didn't cherish my sincere heart, she could face my fury instead. Chapter 5. Looking closer, I saw that the top fan's profile picture was a photo of him. He looked a little familiar. I clicked on his profile. My jaw dropped. Wasn't that her boss? 3 months ago, Victoria told me she'd found a job as a receptionist. I didn't want her to work so hard and hadn't agreed at first, but she insisted. So I let her. But she was strange about it, never letting me pick her up from work. Her excuse was that she didn't want me to go to the trouble, so I didn't think much of it. Later, she posted a picture from a work dinner on her social media. I saw him with his arm around her and asked what was going on. She explained it was just a forfeit from a game they were playing. So I had been cheated on for that long. Swallowing my anger, I took pictures and videos of all the chat logs and photos. A plan began to form in my mind. Before she got back, I quickly left the apartment, making it seem like I had never been there. She would be streaming again tonight. I found her account, saw she had started her broadcast, then grabbed my bag and rushed home. I burst through the door with a clatter. This time, I deliberately made a racket. She immediately ended her stream. I forced the disgust down and called out, "Honey, are you home?" She came stumbling out, clearly flustered, still wearing her streaming outfit. "Babe, why are you back so suddenly?" I held up a bouquet of flowers, feigning composure. "I closed the deal, so I came back early. I wanted to surprise you. Why are you dressed like that?" Her eyes darted around, as if trying to gauge if I had heard anything. Then she quickly clung to me, her expression shifting to one of easy confidence. "I was trying to surprise you. Do you like it? Honey, we've been together for so long we should add a little spice to our lives, don't you think?" She looked at me with an innocent expression. If I hadn't already seen her true colors, I would have fallen for it completely. To avoid arousing her suspicion, I quickly carried her into the bedroom. Perhaps out of guilt, she was incredibly enthusiastic. Afterward, she tentatively asked when I was going to propose. I gave a series of non-committal answers and turned the question back on her. She looked at me seriously and said that if we were to get married, I had to transfer the deed of the apartment to her name. I had always been a complete simp for her. She was certain I would do it. The old me wouldn't have thought twice, but now I just smiled at her. "Of course, the house should be in your name. After all, you're going to be my wife." She was pleased, not suspecting a thing. "You're the best, honey. I love you so much." "Heh," I sneered inwardly. This woman was a real actress. I got up, saying I would go make dinner. She turned her head and went back to her phone. The moment I left the room, my smile vanished. Using my money to support another man, and now trying to scam me out of my apartment? Not a chance. A small smile played on my lips as a plan quietly took shape in my mind. Chapter 6. For the next 2 days, she showed no signs of anything unusual, going to and from work as normal. I secretly went to her company's entrance and saw a disgusting scene. Her boss, Ethan Hawthorne, openly had his arm around her waist as they walked outside. She got into his car. The moment the car pulled away, she sent me a text saying she had a work dinner and would be home late. I laughed. So this is what work dinner meant all along? Suppressing my rage, I went with the flow and told her I was leaving on another business trip, all to give her more room to play. Sure enough, upon hearing I was leaving again, she put on a show of complaining for a bit before turning around and announcing on her platform that she would be streaming that night. I had arranged to work remotely, so I quickly checked into a hotel and waited for her stream to start. I just hadn't expected the content of this stream to be so explosive. The moment she went live, she offered a so-called welcome bonus. I had to admit Victoria was genuinely beautiful. She was the campus goddess at our university. I had stayed by her side for a whole month after she went through a breakup, and it took a Herculean effort to finally win her over. I treated her like a precious gem, never letting her suffer even a little. But I never, ever imagined she would degrade herself like this. The Victoria on the live stream was almost a completely different person from the one in real life. The moment someone sent a gift, she would put on a contrived act and KO those sweet nothings. Before long, her top fan, Big E, also arrived. I watched their conversation and suddenly wanted to laugh. I observed her stream for a while. The quality of her fan base wasn't high. Most of the tips were small gifts. I created a new account. When the time felt right, I started showering her with gifts. It pained me to spend the money, but how else could I get her to trust me? She was clearly stunned and immediately put on a special performance for me. The moment she ended the stream, she slid into my DMs saying that for the gifts I sent, she could give me a special perk. Although I had mentally prepared myself, seeing her list of so-called perks still made my face darken. I suppressed my anger and asked if any of them were available. She confirmed, and I told her to decide for me. A few moments later, she sent me a 1-minute-long comfort video. I nearly spit out the food I had just put in my mouth. Chapter 7. I tentatively asked if she had a boyfriend. She denied it instantly and continued to cozy up to me, hinting that she wanted more money. I made a grand gesture and sent her $450. At that, she immediately started calling me honey. I fought the urge to punch a wall and continued to flirt with her. I learned that she had been doing this job for over a year, and that if you paid enough, you could even unlock more paid content. My fists were clenched tight. Calming down, I immediately registered another new account and added her top fan, Ethan Hawthorne. The persona for this account was a sort of socialite, with a feed full of glamorous selfies. He immediately asked how I'd found him. I lied and said I had seen him in the live stream, thought he seemed like a man of substance, and wanted to get to know him better. He couldn't resist the bait and started chatting with me. Perhaps after seeing my social media feed, his attitude toward me changed instantly. Before 2 days had passed, he was already calling me babe. I'd never met such a disgusting man. No, he was an animal. He even tried to persuade me to become a streamer, claiming it was a great way to make money. I played along, creating a persona of someone who wasn't short on money, but was starved for affection. That got him even more fired up. Meanwhile, I returned home from my business trip. It was her time of the month, so she wasn't streaming, and her attitude toward me wasn't as enthusiastic as last time. This time, she started nagging me again about when we would get married, pushing me to transfer the apartment to her name quickly. I sighed and said that things weren't going well at work. I made up an excuse to placate her, and she bought it. But she was clearly growing impatient with me. To keep her on the hook, I transferred another $1,500 to her. She beamed, accepting the money without hesitation. As I watched my phone vibrate for a few seconds, I knew the show was about to begin. Chapter 8. Ethan Hawthorne's messages declaring his love came one after another. The fish was on the hook. Seeing that I had strung both of them along enough, I arranged to meet them separately, each under a different one of my fake personas. Before that, I paid for a background check on Ethan. I had no idea what I would find, but what I discovered was shocking. Ethan was a lucky man. He had married into a wealthy family, and his wife, Eleanor Roth, doted on him. After they married, she even made him the general manager of her company. But Ethan was greedy and secretly looked down on his wife. He was a smooth operator, though, and acted incredibly attentive toward her. That's why, to this day, his wife had no idea he was cheating on her. What a coincidence. I couldn't stand men like him. As the day approached, Victoria messaged me relentlessly, claiming I was her first man and trying every guilt trip in the book. But how many people who do this kind of thing are truly clean? I soothed her, promising I would take responsibility for her. I sent her another $200, and only then did she resume her half-hearted flirting. My money, I swear. All spent on these disgusting people on the appointed day. Victoria was getting ready to go out. I asked her what she was doing, and she lied that it was a company team-building event. She didn't seem to realize she'd used the same excuse less than 2 weeks ago. She couldn't even be bothered to come up with a new lie for me. I followed her car to the hotel. The timing was perfect. Not long after, Ethan also arrived. I quickly sent an anonymous message to his wife. Your husband is at the Grand Starlight Hotel on a date with a streamer. Come if you believe me. Before she could reply, I blocked her. Sure enough, it wasn't long before his wife, Eleanor, stormed in with a group of people. After all, with something like this, it's better to believe it than not. I slipped in with the crowd and hid in a corner. His wife was a tough cookie. She snatched a keycard from a cleaning lady and swiped open the door. She was so formidable that the cleaning lady didn't dare to stop her. The commotion from the furious group was so loud that people from other rooms poked their heads out to see the drama unfold. I blended into the crowd, found a safe spot, and pulled out my phone. After I had lured them both there, Ethan wasn't fazed to find Victoria instead of his new online flame. Overcome with lust, he didn't care who it was. When his wife burst in, the two of them were in the middle of a deep exchange. I treat you so damn well and you're here with some other woman, lying to me about a business trip? Without another word, she dragged him off the bed, and the man leading her group gave him a solid whack with a club. Ethan was completely stunned. Forgetting the pain, he immediately dropped to his knees and started begging for forgiveness. Forgiveness? Too late. Victoria, still bewildered, shrank into a corner in panic. Eleanor was ruthless. She had her people drag both of them out of the room and into the hallway. I saw Victoria trembling, and Ethan wasn't faring any better. The onlookers were whispering amongst themselves. This was fresh, piping hot gossip after all. Some had already started recording the beautiful moment on their phones. How dare you seduce my husband? Eleanor slapped Victoria across the face, once on each side. Victoria's face swelled up instantly. Big E, say something, Victoria cried, pushing at Ethan. Ethan, barely able to save himself, quickly distanced himself from her. Honey, I'm innocent. She seduced me. Honey, can we please just go home and talk about this? His wife just laughed. A cold, bitter sound. The lead goon hit him again with the club. He cried out in pain but kept insisting he was innocent. When he saw his wife didn't believe him, he actually grabbed Victoria and slapped her hard across the face several times. Now Victoria was the one who was stunned. Ethan, are you crazy? Why are you hitting me? Tired of watching the dogs bite each other, his wife directly proposed a divorce. Ethan tried to argue. She turned to Victoria and demanded she return every cent and every gift Ethan had ever given her, or she would sue her into oblivion. At that moment, Victoria realized she had been cast aside. She looked at Ethan in despair, but he refused to even look at her. I recorded the whole thing from the side, silently thinking, serves you right, she didn't cherish the one who cherished her, but desperately fawned over the one who abandoned her. Didn't she deserve this? Eleanor demanded she return all the money. Victoria was in the wrong. It was marital property, and she wouldn't stand a chance in court. She had to swallow the loss and promise to return it. Finally, Eleanor turned on her heel and left. Ethan didn't even glance at Victoria as he chased after his wife. She collapsed to the floor, shaking uncontrollably. The crowd continued to buzz. Just you wait, I thought. This is only the beginning. Chapter 9. Before Ethan could even message me, I blocked him. He frantically tried to add me as a friend, demanding an answer. But soon he wouldn't have time to bother with me. Victoria also sent me a message, demanding to know what happened. I played dumb, asking if she had gone to the wrong place. I told her I had been there and seen her get beaten. She panicked instantly and scrambled to explain. It just goes to show how clueless she is. If she'd used her brain for a second, she'd know my story didn't hold up. But alas, she couldn't figure it out. I deleted her contact. She kept begging me not to, desperate not to lose me, her new cash cow. Too late. At this stage, her usefulness was over. Victoria returned home, covered in bruises. I had already come home early and set up a proposal scene. even inviting some of her friends and family. The moment she walked in the door, everyone swarmed her. She was stunned. Champagne, a huge bouquet of roses, it was the exact proposal she had always dreamed of. Everyone was cheering, urging her to marry me. In the eyes of her friends and family, I was a rare gem of a man. She was dazed, tears streaming down her face. After all, when you hit rock bottom and someone suddenly extends a hand, promising to love and cherish you forever, it's a fatal blow. She stared at me, frozen for a few seconds. Everyone subconsciously ignored the bruises on her body. I took out a ring and proposed. She immediately said yes. She hugged me, saying I was the best person in the world to her. We kissed amidst the enthusiastic cheers of our friends. A few more tears fell from her eyes. She whispered that she was so happy. I sneered inwardly. Happy? You'll be even happier later. Chapter 10. From that day on, in a complete reversal of my usual behavior, I started treating her with cold indifference. I found fault with everything. I'd complain that her cooking was terrible or that her salary was too low. At first, she could tolerate it, thinking I was just stressed from work. But then, I poured the soup she had painstakingly simmered for hours down the drain, claiming it was dishwater. She couldn't take it anymore. In the 2 years we'd been together, I had never once been anything but kind to her. Victoria was completely baffled. She looked up at me and demanded to know what was wrong with me. Seeing her finally snap, my voice turned to ice. What do you think? You can't even do this one simple thing right. What can you do? We're about to get married. Can't you be a little more considerate of how hard I work? She froze, then sighed, and quickly tried to comfort me. I knew she had to cling to me now, her only lifeline. Besides, she couldn't complain to anyone else. After all, I had always been the devoted, humble simp in our relationship. My words gradually wore her down, and a new idea began to form in her mind. At first, she promised me she would become a good traditional wife. But in reality, her streaming career hadn't ended. I found out that the reason I couldn't find her streams before was because she was using a special location spoofer, changing her location to a place 2,000 kilometers away. Afraid of being seen? I laughed. I secretly disabled the spoofer, allowing all our friends and family to stumble upon her live stream. I even installed hidden cameras all over the apartment. That way, everyone could watch together. Much more exciting. I used the excuse of preparing for the wedding to go back to my hometown, deliberately giving her space. Victoria was the type to always have one eye on the next best thing. The moment I left, she started streaming again, deciding to have one last hurrah before the wedding. A faint smile touched my lips. I had finally gotten my chance. 3 days before the wedding, while I was still busy in my hometown, she couldn't hold back any longer. After being shunned by his wife, Ethan decided he was back in the game. Familiarity bred contempt, and he and Victoria hooked up again. You could say she was the type of ungrateful backstabber you can never truly tame. Watching them on the surveillance feed, I laughed out loud. Seeing the gifts rolling in on her stream, she put on an even more enthusiastic performance. Their on-camera antics sent the stream's popularity soaring. During the stream, she even complained about me, saying she didn't want to marry me. Ethan consoled her, saying she could still see him after she got married. She agreed, even meticulously scheduling me for Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and him for Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, with 1 day off. I felt sick, the audacity. Suddenly, my phone exploded with notifications. It was her parents and friends, all sending me messages. Most of them were expressing sympathy for me. Not a single one tried to make excuses for her. I didn't answer any of them. On the stream, her phone rang, but Ethan held her down. The two of them proceeded to perform a spectacular adult film for our vast online audience. Not long after, the stream was forcibly shut down. I immediately paid a few online users to report them for prostitution in my home. Chapter 11. After receiving a call from the police, I rushed home. Only then did I answer the call from her parents, claiming I had been out and had bad reception. When I arrived, her parents had already slapped her face until it was swollen. Ethan was cowering in a corner. The police officers didn't look too pleased either. I looked at her with a heartbroken expression. Victoria immediately dropped to her knees, trying to explain. I slapped her hard across the face. "Victoria, how could you do this to me? I was so good to you, why?" She tried to explain again, but I just held up my phone, which clearly displayed a recording of everything. "Is there anything else to say? The video is all over the internet. I am so disappointed in you. It wasn't just me, her parents were utterly disappointed too, grabbing her and yelling at her. She wanted to explain, but I refused to listen. The police officers were very sympathetic to me, the cuckolded fiancé, and were preparing to take them away to handle the follow-up. Just then, Ethan's wife, Eleanor, burst in with divorce papers. He shot to his feet, grabbing his wife's arm and trying to explain, but everyone had seen the live stream. What was there to explain? I have to say, that woman was a real fighter. Right there in front of the police, she beat both of them until their faces looked like pig heads. The police officers frowned but seemed to turn a blind eye. After all, when you're faced with something like this, a good beating is probably the only way to vent your anger. Hooking up with him once wasn't enough. You had to come back for more. Neither of you is any good. When Victoria's parents heard that this wasn't the first time they lost it. They had always been obsessed with their reputation, and now they were furious. The two of them grabbed her and started hitting her relentlessly. She shot me a desperate look, pleading for help. "Honey, I didn't mean it. Please let me explain." "Sorry, if I listen to you again, I'm an idiot." I looked at her coldly. "There's nothing to explain. We're broken up. And one more thing, please return my money, otherwise I will sue you." She was clearly panicked, not expecting me to demand the money back. The next second, her parents grabbed her and slapped her again. For people so concerned with face, her actions were the ultimate public humiliation. In complete despair, she tried to appeal to me for help, but the police directly took her and Ethan to the station. This time, I was going to make sure her reputation was utterly destroyed. Chapter 12. I quickly packed up her belongings and threw them out. No matter how much she cried or begged, I would not take her back. She was forced to return half of the money. I didn't bother to ask where she got it. I just took it, blocked her number, and moved on. Her video went viral, and everyone sympathized with my plight. Ethan's wife divorced him immediately and even sent me a message to thank me. She knew I was the one who sent the tip and wanted to thank me, but I declined. It was just a small thing I did along the way. I thought my life was about to return to normal, but then Victoria showed up again. This time, what she said truly blew my mind. I was just getting into my new Porsche when she, clearly stunned, ran up to me. "Is this car yours?" I nodded. "It is. What's it to you?" She looked at me suspiciously. "How is that possible? Your salary is just over $1,500 a month. How could you afford this car?" I smiled, stepping into the car. "Sorry, my family got a payout from a real estate development." Now she was interested. Her eyes lit up. She walked over to my side, placing a hand on her stomach. "Sincere, I'm pregnant. It's your child." I burst out laughing. "What? Pregnant, and it's my child? Is this a joke?" I waved her closer, signaling for her to lean down. Thinking she still had a chance, a smile appeared on her face. I smiled back, reached out to stroke her face, and then swiftly slapped her. "Victoria, have some shame. How long has it been since I last touched you? And you're telling me this child is mine. Don't you want to laugh at yourself?" She clutched her face in disbelief, stammering, unable to form a coherent sentence. "Why did you hit me?" I sneered. "Victoria, hitting you is being generous. I've never met a woman like you. As for that bastard in your stomach, you can find whoever you want to be its father." I warned her one last time not to come looking for me again, or I would make her regret it for the rest of her life. She was still struggling, not believing I could be so ruthless. I pulled out the video from that time and smiled at her. Her expression began to crumble. The video in my hand was her greatest fear. As long as it existed, she would never dare to harass me again. She was silent for a long time, then looked up at me, her eyes wild. "So you knew a long time ago. You did this on purpose, didn't you?" Seeing her defeated, I felt a strange sense of joy and nodded cheerfully. "So what if I did? You don't want to add this live performance to your resume, do you?" She was furious and tried to lunge at me, but I slammed on the gas and sped away. She ran after me, crying, trying to get me to stay. Too late. Watching her desperate, pleading figure in the rearview mirror, I felt an inexplicable sense of satisfaction. Chapter 13. After that, she tried every possible way to find me, but my housekeeper always turned her away. After a few attempts, I finally told her that if she came again, I would call the police. This time, she finally gave up. Victoria was indeed pregnant, but it wasn't mine. To put it bluntly, she was just trying to extort me, to see if I was still the same simp who would worship her. What a joke I'm not an idiot. Why would I ever want a woman like that? Seeing that she had no hope with me, she could only go to Ethan for a resolution. Ethan wasn't doing much better. His wife had divorced him decisively, and he had lost his position at the company. Everyone at the company knew about their affair and mocked them openly and secretly, but he was something else. He still clung to his job, perhaps hoping his ex-wife would have a change of heart. Victoria was fired and went straight to him, demanding he make an honest woman out of her. It just goes to show how stupid Victoria is. She couldn't even arrange to meet him privately, she had to go to his office. Ethan didn't hesitate to give her a beating. I had a couple of friends at her company who sent me a video of the incident. I just smiled. I was happy to be a spectator. The rest had nothing to do with me. The outcome was that Victoria had a miscarriage from the beating. Somehow, she managed to force Ethan to marry her. I guess a broke camel is still bigger than a horse. She was just after what little money Ethan had left. On her wedding day, a friend even sent me a picture of the scene. It was a miserable sight. Ethan showed her no respect at all. I laughed. She deserved all of it. Before long, she had squandered all of Ethan's remaining money. After the wedding, her true colors showed. But without money, she was unwilling to put up with anything. She pushed Ethan to go out and make money. Ethan turned the tables on her. No one expected him to threaten Victoria and force her back into live streaming. I stumbled upon her stream one day by chance. I noticed she was covered in bruises. She had clearly been abused. Ethan always seemed like the type to be a domestic abuser. I have to say, her streaming still brought in a decent amount of money. I smiled faintly. This was her karma. Chapter 14. Perhaps she was beaten into submission, or maybe she just didn't want to stream anymore. She got my number from somewhere and called me, crying and begging me to save her. "He's your husband. You and I are just strangers. If you need to be saved, call the police." She was silent for a few seconds, then cursed me and my entire family with the foulest language imaginable. I loved seeing her so flustered I could almost picture her jumping up and down in a rage. I bent over laughing. An idiot will always be an idiot. "Just you wait. I have one last big gift for you." That night she had to stream again. Her resistance was as feeble as a mosquito bite. Ethan had recently gotten into gambling and wouldn't care. I registered a new account, silently sent a few large gifts, enough to cover her earnings for several days of streaming. When she saw the gifts, the light in her eyes completely died. Her face went pale. If I wasn't mistaken, this would only make her husband even more excited. Sure enough, the next day's stream was even more intense. I sneered as I blocked her stream and all her contact methods. "You chose this path, so you can walk it yourself." As for me, I was ready to embrace my new wonderful life. Sincerity should be given to those who know how to appreciate it, not to some idiot who tramples on your heart and then turns around to bite you.